Okay. This is the service one.
On behalf of Irmarie's family especially, I'm John Remus, and in the final years of visiting Irmarie at her home, in response to a remark of hers or in parting, I'd often say, "I love you, Irmarie," or "Irma, I love you." And without hesitation, she'd respond, "I know you do." And said almost with a tone of sympathy, because wasn't it true for so many of us, we really couldn't help but love this remarkable person. So I say welcome to us all who loved Irmarie, and to those who might be here as a guest of others and previously unknowing of this quite astounding person. In opening, I'm honored to have been invited to reflect briefly myself, and admittedly, reporter Richie Davis. Many in this community Christianity, Irmarie's and Richie's professional acts of inclusion, joined with how each upheld the worth and dignity of all people, were integral to a progressive direction in this area over the last half century. It's no coincidence that Irmarie was a leader, an unwavering pillar to a church that called the church pillar was part of holding up a roof of protection for that person. And when forceful feminists like Professor Ginny Lowe, who started the Women's Studies program at the community college, when she stood up and spoke out institutionally or with an opinion piece, as she often did in the newspaper, Ginny and others like her knew that was at their back, nodding with her head so thoughtfully and affirmatively as perhaps we often remember. Was no paragon of acceptance. She had her old-fashioned isms and deference to old guard ways. Yet when I began ministry at All Souls, Irmarie was my first board chair, and she stood by me when 20 years ago I brought local anti-racism leader Dwayne Brewington to speak to the Sunday congregation. I'll always remember Irmarie sitting in her favorite pew, once again nodding her head to the perspective of a person even the newspaper too often held up in a negative light as he did his work. So many were the facets of this intensely good, humane, and personable servant we hold up before us today. And in our survey, I look forward to the more personal reflections of others. But on Juneteenth, when we lift up the ongoing struggle for racial justice, which includes the court verdict against racism with policing, when claimed by the governor of Florida, transgender people are made a target of the fear and hatred plaguing this nation. At this point in history, when a woman's right to control her own body is threatened by a Supreme Court charged with protecting rights, we are here today remembering a type of heroine. That is who Irmarie was to me, a type of heroine. One that too often goes unsung in our culture. Jones, in demonstrating solidarity and courage for what is right and truly good. Bless us in this remembrance today. And once more, I say welcome. So hit number 108. My life goes on and end of song. I'll just give a little intro.
I just want to introduce myself for those who don't know who I am. I am Irmarie Jones, and I just want to say that I've been very, very blessed as a young child because Irmarie gave me a home, a mother and a father, sisters and brothers, and a family. And at a very age of 30-something, I was taken to court with Richie there as a witness. Irmarie adopted me. I had been a full-grown adult, and she wanted to adopt me into the family. I did. But I am my sister's daughter number 1. I'm daughter number 2. And I'm going to turn it over to Betty. Come on up here, Betty. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? That's Grandma Jones' great grandson. Yeah. That's Lucas. And he already gave Grandma a hug when he was about 4. 4? You're 4 now, but you'll be 5. My children on the farm in Buckland, and Mom and Dad had lived out there, no kids, and was hoping for some, had miscarriages and so on. So they heard from the state that they were looking for a family that would take in 3 foster kids. And sight unseen, I mean, most people do not do this, but God put it upon their heart, obviously, for them to take in Mary, myself, and George, all 3 of us. And I, at the time, was 5, so Mary was 3. I was almost 5, not quite. And then George was 7. So the 3 of us went, and poor Mom and Dad were never the same. But they were so good to take us, make sure we went to school. I remember a day when Mom and Dad had gotten us off to school, and Mom realized the dessert was still sitting on the counter. Oh my goodness. So in her braids, we walked a mile to the school bus down the dirt road. Here comes Mom with her pigtails flying, and she had desserts to put in our lunch before the school bus got there. And so that's how she was on everything, attuned to everything. And so she did that, and there were other things like Valentine's Day at school, and being new parents, Mom didn't think of it, but Valentine's Day came along, and George was at school. Well, the teacher in that grade, I can't remember which grade, but she went out and had bought Valentine's on the break and signed them to each of the kids from George. And so that was how she, things went with us kids and Mom. And she enlisted George in Boy Scouts, or Cub Scouts, I should say, and also 4-H. We did learn to sew, and I tried to do a heifer, but Dad showed me it was a lot more work. I had to clean up and everything, and that was not for me. And I didn't like gardening. I hated pulling weeds. So I went back to sewing, and that was it. But just checking my notes. I don't want to leave anything out. And Mom, when she would go out to milk the cows, she helped almost as much as Dad did with the cows and the goats, chickens. We had all these things, and a horse for a short time. And mom was there to do the milking and help bring up kids. How do you bring up little babies and things when you're on a farm? And you have to help. You have to tie one kid to the tree, like Mary Ann, have to be tied or she'd be down under where the cows are and underfoot and could get hurt. She brought Meg over and had to make sure Meg was away from the cows, not down in the feed trough. And we put the grain and everything. So, I mean, she had quite a job. And then the other kids, of course, came along after that, but they moved to Greenfield on School Street. And Dad went to work as a teacher instead of a farmer, but she later told me that he wished he had never left the farm. And I was glad to hear it, but it was kind of late then because I sold the farm already. But anyway, when my thoughts go back to those days, it always goes back to Buckland. I mean, that's where we actually found somebody that called us their parent. They said, you can call us. We asked if we could call mom and dad. And they said, if that's what you want to do. And I remember one of the first days we were there, our bedroom faced the living room where dad was sitting. And you could peek out of the bedroom door. My bed was right there. I could get a good view. And I would play peekaboo with dad. And it was family. It was, because we had come from the orphanage in Pittsfield. And I just wanted to say so much that my mother, birth mother, was not a terrible person. And she had been left by my father to take care of everything. There was no welfare at all. We lived in Wyoming. And so she did what she thought she had to do, and the state took us and put us in home. But it was not because she was a bad person. And then she married again to the so my grandmother and my grandfather was working in the coal mines, and he'd go to work every day just to help put food on the table. He got caught up in a machine with his coat in the winter of that following year and was pulled in and killed at the mine. So my grandmother actually answered an ad in the paper for, this sounds like a 1800s, but she answered an advertisement for a husband, her husband advertised for mail order bride. So Grandma Ida, with all of us kids and grandkids, the guy she married had one little piece of land in Beckett and a little cabin on it, no money. My mother didn't have a car, we had nothing. And so in that way, the state did come in and put us in different homes, which thank the good Lord, it was mom and dad. And they took all three, and George had already been separated, living out near Rowe, somewhere out that way. And they brought him in to meet us two again and put us all together. And then we ended up being raised with them and all the children after that. And I was in charge for a while. That really was good. I was in charge because I was the oldest. But now I've grown to be younger again. So I'd rather be younger, not have all those responsibilities. But anyways, that's what happened with the young ones. And then it went on to living with mom and dad on School Street. And Meg was there. Mom had her. She was in the hospital as a preemie for a long time. And that must have been hard because you got to come home without your baby. And so Meg was in there. And then Robert came along. And then, boy, the trouble started. Robert came along, and he was actually a quiet good kid, And then one after the other, which would have been Becky, And I remember her in North Leverett, and Mom would say, I said, Mom, can I do the dishes? Can I clean in here? I don't want to babysit. Go out, watch your brothers and sisters. You couldn't do anything in the house, so I never learned to be a good house. Don't worry about that. And anyways, so I watched the kids and watched them grow, and then it was Becky, and then Neil, and then Peter. But Peter, it wasn't Peter.
Come over here.
Peter, but Peter was in Mom's tummy. And when I left and moved on out of North Leverett, I didn't like it out there, and I thought I knew everything, which I did, but nobody else knew. And so I wanted to move and get out of the country and all of the ugly boys out there. And so I moved, but you look back and you say, I wish I never did it. I wish I never moved. But I did. I graduated from Westfield High, and Mom and Dad came to my wedding when I first got married, and had 2 children, Julie, Elizabeth there with her son, and Jaden, he is truly a blessing. And then I have James, where's my other son? Huh? He's hiding, up in the back over there, with his wonderful wife next to him. And they live out in Row, and if anybody wants a German Shepherd, he's got him. And so then later on, I married Roger. There's my wonderful husband hiding over there. Okay, and we got married, been married 40 years. And we have a son, Michael, and he would have come today, but he has a lot of what do you call it, some kind of prejudice, I call it, autoimmune problems and stuff like that. So he's home taking care of the hyper dog, you know, my God. Australian Shepherd, anybody know about them? They drive you insane. But anyways, that's about our family, okay? And I just want to make sure that touch base on those things. We have lots of grandchildren. We have Jillian and all her family. She's got her husband and that little red-headed boy there. What's your name again?
Lucas.
Lucas, okay, Lucas. And there's Alyssa. And the little baby that can't talk yet. And he's only 3 months old. Yeah, that's your brother, right? Okay, anybody I'm missing here? That wants to give knowledge? Anyone? Yeah, all day and all night. Okay. All right, and it's good to see all the cousins, nieces, nephews. And Mom did adopt me also into her family after my first marriage was ended. Meg was there. And I think he brought a bottle of champagne. And so that was wonderful to have you there to know the whole thing. She read it, right? You know, it was proper. But then she knows all issues sometimes, but then we have grandchildren, nieces, nephews, everybody. And I'm so happy to see everybody that did show up tonight. And next time, Carolina will be having her baby. And Gardner, I don't know, I have to call him Papa. He'll be a Papa. Or is already, but I'm seeing you still a Papa. So I have a letter that I want to read to you, not too long, I hope, but here and there. But you have to laugh because that was how Mom was. Nothing was going to go to waste. And then she'd bring out the big bottles of free soda, the big wide offer. If you went shopping, you get a free bottle. So somebody could use that. She had bottles. I mean, this is right out there. It's a wonder it wasn't in the paper. But out of the goodness of her heart, she's not going to throw it out. So anybody that wants it, you take it home and use it. So that's how Grandma was. That's how Mom was, I should say. And so Grandma always, Julie's letter here, she said, Grandma always asked me about my life in detail. and how I was with a genuine concern and offered me her comments and advice, which I gratefully accepted. She was not my biological grandmother, but in my eyes, as close of a grandmother's granddaughter can have. We would write quite frequently, and most of all, her typed letters would include one of her columns that she wrote in the newspaper. In times at the family camp, gathering around the fire and listening to her classical music has brought a great sense of family togetherness. I will always remember her love of cross stitch and how she made our family, each one of us, on our day of birth. Grandma made those things for all of us. And she was there for my mother. And that is the best gift of all. She always thought of others. She was a woman I admired and could look up to. On my side, rooting for my success, when I started my store, she looked at anything she thought I could sell. My mother has taken on so many of her good qualities that I will be forever thankful for. Thank you for listening.
Is this good? I'm the third daughter of Meg Jones Cummings. I'm so delighted to see everyone here today to celebrate and honor the life of our mother. We've got a light that's shone on all of us, and we are blessed to have felt the warmth of her smile, her enthusiasm for life, and her boundless love. She absolutely adored her family, her many friends, and cherished all people within her extended family, all the people in Franklin County and beyond. Being a reporter and a writer at the Recorder were perfect. She was the ultimate town crier and such a sweet, caring mother hen. On a car trip we took together in August 2011, I asked her, "What is your philosophy of life, Mom?" And she said, "I always try to look for the good in everybody." She was very proud of the diversity within our family. She used to tell me that all the faces of her grandchildren would make the most beautiful UNICEF Christmas card ever. Now, she did most things very well, except one I can think of, and that is driving a car. She didn't get her license until she was 45. Irmarie and a gas engine were not a good combination. Too much energy in one place. Here's an example. A few weeks after passing her driver's test, she came to pick me up from downtown Greenfield. This was in the late 1960s, and I was about 15. As she pulled up to the curb, I could see her gesturing and pointing to the door behind the passenger side. I looked and saw a big dent and lots of scraped off paint. I got in and she had tears in her eyes, gasping, "Oh, Dad's not going to be happy about this. I hit a mailbox on Route 5 and 10 when I was coming back from Deerfield. Well, actually, it was good timing." "Good timing?" I asked. "Mom, smashing into a mailbox. It'd be good timing. And she said, well, Mrs. Johnson was standing right next to it, getting her mail when I had driven by 20 minutes earlier. So she always looked on the bright side. Our mother was hard not to love, and she loved others so easily. She did many simple and kind things, like helping our son Gardner create a collection of china animals with little figures that came from Grandpa's tea boxes, finding bird feathers on her walks to show great-grandsons Justin and Jaden, teaching our daughter Jana how to knit. And once, when I visited her when she was sick, so she's sick, her main concern was that I get the birthday card she had sent for Natasha in her mailbox on time. Natasha is a great granddaughter. When she passed away in January, she was in her own bed, in her own home, with our brother Neil by her side, with such devotion for so many years. She was very well cared for and so loved for many years, and I'm sure she knew it. These 3 sentences are shared by our brother Neil. He said, each day, she always helped me more than I ever helped her. She was a lot of fun to be with. She was always happy, always thinking of others, and always incredibly loving. For Irmarie, welcoming, nurturing, bringing love and sunshine into other people's lives was her natural way of being. For me, the name Irmarie has come to mean a quality of being. She had authentic, pure quality. She was pure Irmarie. When you leave here today, take some pure Irmarie out the door with you to save in your heart. That is her gift to us. Give some away every day. Be inspired to help others. Smile, be kind, thoughtful, volunteer. Show your family how much you love them. And try to look for the good in everybody. And let the pure Irmarie grow and grow. We have all been embraced by the kindness of her soul. Thank you, Mom, for all that you did for each and every one of us. Thank you, Irmarie.
Was thinking of what I could possibly offer to this memorial of Mom. I thought of just a few things that perhaps I never really think before. For the things that perhaps I didn't tell her. Okay. She taught me what a waterfront was. One of the things that I'm sure our family was thankful for was she would obsessively pick out magazines from the library. But I think she knew when they came in and she would take them out before anybody else had a chance to see the magazines. But so we had the whole range, Lifetime, New Yorker, Reader's Guide. But at first it was sort of a joke, but later on, I mean, when I went to college and in high school, we had that source of information about what the world was going on. And that was part of her aura too, to know what was going on in the world as a reporter. And I thought like all families had those in their house, you know, the latest magazines and information. She was she had very patient in answering questions when we were little children, and she would always take the questions very seriously and try to do her best to answer the questions we had as young children. I was actually surprised about now that we're going through what she had done in her life and all her extracurricular activities, but she never really mentioned them, and which I appreciated, not, you know, in a boastful matter. That was just something that she felt she had to do. That was something that everybody had to do, and you didn't really mention that or have to talk about what had to be, what she felt every person should be doing. I thank you for getting us into the Unitarian Church, which for our family was a very meaningful and important experience. This has been mentioned many times, but I'll mention it again. I thank you for not talking about people in a negative way. Something that I wish I could emulate more, but I still use her as an example of interpersonal relationships, and especially in work situations and to have a very positive attitude towards people. I thank her for her stories, which I call learning stories that she brought us up with. As a good reporter and as a storyteller, there had a point, and one of the particular ones which I remember, which is really not rings in my mind, but very, very much like a good short story, and so I really appreciate that. And I just thank her for being earned. She just sort of happily barreled through life and didn't seem to care much about what other people thought of her, or at least didn't seem to care. But she knew what she wanted to do, especially later in life, and she just did it.
I'm not in the program, as you know, but my name is Deborah Barrow. I've been married to Robert Jones for 25 years, and we have two wonderful kids, Jennifer and Robert. Can you please stand up? Please. And although Robert and I split, I do admire him very much, and we are good friends. He's a very smart man, very hardworking, excellent father, and when we were happy, we were an envy of other people how wonderful was our relationship. But you know, sometimes time works not in a favor, and it happened. But what I really want to say today is that I admire Irmarie. Christian jeans and Jones jeans. They are alive. They are alive in my kids because they carry their genes. When I studied biology, they told me that most behaviors are learned by seeing the way others behave, and it's still true. But now they have found out a lot of behaviors, even fear or depression or others, are transmitted on the genes. And I'm just going to tell you one story. One day I found Jenny in her room, where she likes to spend most of the time reading, and you're doing a little bag to contain their pencils and doing things. And I really don't like needles. She never had seen needles. Roberto sometimes fixes his socks, but Jenny didn't have so many chances to see Irmarie doing needling. And she was doing such a beautiful thing. And I never thought they never taught her in the school. So I was like, this is amazing. She didn't have so many chances, really, because when we came, Irmarie didn't have chance to be doing the crossing she doing it. So I said, how wonderful. I mean, it's Irmarie. It's Irmarie here on her genes working. So I'm so proud. I love her. I love her whole family. And thank you all for being here and honoring her, because she was really a very, very unique person. Thank you.
Could never keep up with the Joneses. Especially Irmarie. Oh. I had a dream about her last night. Newsrooms, newspapers, can have their own unique charm. I found when I arrived at the Greenfield Recorder in August 1976. I was 24, and I knew no one at all in this town. And when it came to giving me a hearty, warm welcome that immediately made me feel at home, it was, of course, Irmarie Jones. To new kids on the block like me, she was Mother Jones, a one-woman welcome wagon. Little did I know that she'd roll by in a needle-drawn wagon of her own in the Franklin County Fair Parade year after year, with all of us cheering and waving. To new kids on the block like me, I soon realized that was everywhere, reporting on how much rainfall we had by checking the family's dog dish, bringing her lunch from home in a plain brown Athol Daily News mailing bags rather than throw it out, never discarding a piece of paper without reusing it back for notes, and keeping us healthy and all healthy and fed with tomatoes and zucchinis and beans from her garden. When I attended services at All Souls with my family and my baby daughter, Irma was right there, along with Jean and Stan Cummings and all the UU gang. Across the street at the library, Irma was there as well, picking out a pile of magazines or attending to friends of the library business. It took a while to realize the obvious. had become a surrogate mother to me. And that was my dream last night. She was the most positive, affirming person I could have imagined, let alone met. And the enormous maternal embrace of this little magna mater seemed like the eighth wonder of the world. She was unique. Irma was intelligent, and Lord knows she was super involved, politically and civically, volunteering for the Friends of the Greenfield Public Library, All Souls Church, Center for New Americans, Greenfield Visitor Center, and before that, volunteering at the Peace Corps representative, working for the Greenfield UNICEF Committee and the Greenfield Community Peace Center to protest the Vietnam War. She chaired the Davenport Fund and was a trustee of the Jenny Bascom Fund, along with chairing the All Souls trustees and heading the Friends of the Library and the Survival Center Board, plus volunteering at GCC's Pioneer Valley Institute and later for the Center for New Americans. I'm exhausted just reading this. You're probably exhausted hearing it, but was also tremendous fun, especially when she was in her car. One time I got to ride with her. I remember at gatherings of the Big Slingers Benevolent Association. That was that little club that we had at the Recorder that had been set up years earlier. At picnics, at lunchtime newsroom celebrations held at famous bills. And at holiday parties like the one in Villa de Mayo in Whately, where she and I cut the rug together in the spirit of circulation chief Rolly Stratton, who literally died on the ISPA dance floor. Irmarie became the godmother to my daughter, Emily. She was there when we adopted our son from El Salvador. And after my divorce, when I remarried and had a very small wedding the year after my mom's death, I was so honored to have Irmarie there reading one of the 7 blessings that are part of the Jewish ceremony. One of Irmarie's very favorite projects as a reporter, for which she was justifiably very proud, was a comprehensive history of every church in Franklin County. And there were a lot of them, and she did it exhaustively. Irmarie also loved writing her column, Just Plain Neighbors, a touch of home in an era of homelessness. I wrote in 1979 that she alone could write this community compendium because nobody but Irmarie could think of everyone around herself, friend or stranger. There are no strangers with her as a neighbor. If you don't believe she's your neighbor, you could try her. Bring in your wedding picture or the birth announcement, and Irmarie will share your joy. Bring in an obituary and she'll share your sorrow. And it's all as genuine as Irmarie herself, I wrote. She's always there faster than anyone half her age. She scribbles down notes in her calendar book after casual conversations, the way an eager reporter does in a notebook. Then, without fail, there's always a birthday card or an anniversary card in the mailbox signed Irmarie. Always. She never forgot. In a business where the clean and dirty laundry get folded together, Irmarie sees the good in everything and everyone. That's because Irmarie loves people and she loves life. And Irmarie, who's still here with us today, still loves life and people. Irmarie did not love having her column reduced from 3 days a week to 2. I can tell you that. When the newspaper made cuts, and she had a hard time with the ever more complicated computer systems, which would occasionally eat her hard work, which I believe she'd written out ahead of time longhand. Irma, of course, never complained. She saw the good in everything. But she'd cry across the room for help. At one point, I got her a shark-shaped horn for a walker that she kept in the newsroom at the end. So we know to get out of her way when she's ripping through the press. On her desk was a wooden scroll-sawed nameplate made by a friend of her husband, Wallace. handcrafted by his friend who goofed on the name and mistakenly sawed the name Wallace. So Grubb had fixed it by cutting it in half. And there was on her desk, Ace Jones. Couldn't have been more fitting. Irm left the newsroom in 2012, being driven in from home to write the columns, often driven home by George Fortier, Justin Abelson, or myself. And 5 years later, in 2017, after 35 years of just plain neighbors, she laid down the pen. I always wanted to be a reporter, Irmarie wrote in 2012. As for my column, it has always been a joy. I loved meeting the different people of the county for a story. I began visiting Irmarie at home. Those visits, often on my lunch hour, every week or so, every week or two, I would tell her each time the absolute best part of my day and the most in touch I've been with reality all day. They provided for me a touch of home. Irmarie would regale me with stories again and again about Grandpa Rom. And if you haven't had a chance to look at this wonderful display that we'll put out, make sure you do. She regaled me with stories about Grandpa Rom, who she said had worked for DuPont, about her childhood in Mount Lebanon, going to the Lebanon, Pennsylvania, going to the Julia Ward House School, playing hide and go seek, sheep run, and run, sheep run, about a boy she liked, Paul de Benedictus, with dark, slicked, wavy hair that she described, about trading the Sunday funnies, about visiting her neighbors, Mrs. Klein and her kids, about her mother going to Fitchburg Teachers College and wanting to become an actress. I had no idea which of these stories were true, especially when she began losing touch with who I was and who she was. One time she guessed I was a headmaster from a private school. Another time she took me for a 17-year-old junior, high school junior, assuring me, my father really loves you. At another point in 2015, Irm told me, I'm so confused, and asked me where her husband was. I don't know if he's dead or if he's gone somewhere. I haven't seen him. But at nearly every visit, a wonderful smile would appear across her face the moment I walked in the door. Like that. No matter what she had been to. And her first question, usually from across the room, how are the kids? Inevitably, she'd ask if they were in school, and I'd have to deliver the news, astonishing to her that my kids were already in their 40s. Again and again. How are the babies? She asked me one day. And then when I responded, I had not. She asked whether I was going to have babies. We had a great laugh together over that one. Irmarie was so in love with life and with children that I decided she needed to witness a May Day in Montague. If you've never been to Montague May Day, come. It's like nothing you've ever seen unless you were around in the early days before I was born. So I arranged to fetch her to bring her home with me just up the road from her old North Lever home for a Sunday breakfast before taking her to the town common. With all the commotion and kids running around, I started panicking that I'd made a huge mistake. Here was this woman we were trying to keep from getting knocked over. But afterwards, she assured me that I hadn't made a mistake. All the children, I loved seeing all the children, she repeated over and over again as we drove her back home. 4 years ago this week, on June 14, 2018, was opening her mail and received a thank you letter from a Greenfield Community College student from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the recipient of a scholarship that had set up in honor of her blood, specifically for foreign students learning English. And here's where I lost my last page, so I had to ask my wife to email it to me. She was tickled to relearn that there was such a scholarship and that her name was attached. I'd be lying to you if I led you to believe that Irmarie, one of the most giving, joyous people I've met in my entire life, was always truly content. She often asked me as I visited her home, how her beloved brother was missing, realizing that he was no longer alive. But as I look out to all of you today, and I'm so glad to be here with all of you and with Irm, all of you who have come, for whom Irmarie meant so much, it's clear that Irmarie was the magnator. She was unique. She was so special. A super nurturing and caring human being who couldn't help but reach out to everyone, rippling out in concentric circles that encompasses a sacred ground, caring community, no matter what color, what race, what religion, what country you're from. She loved everyone. We're all blessed to be part of that. There can't be a better way to live out one's last years than the way that Irmarie did. In her own home, made possible by the tireless dedication, caring, Neil, and all the children. Surrounded by a view of her garden, of her yard, with her cherished cardinals, orioles, finches, just out the window. And I can't imagine a better way to live than caring intensely for the world. Every person caring, every person around her, and outward to include, through her constant good works, the entire planet. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jana Irmarie Cummings. I'm the daughter of Megan. So let's draw a bigger circle for you and your family to share. Now you see what all can happen in the circle full of care. It becomes a happier circle as more loved ones come to stay. And wouldn't it be even better if all your friends could come and play? So you stretch and draw your circle even bigger than it's been, and let a few more people know they are welcome to come in. In the circles all around us, everywhere that we go, there's a difference we can make and a love we can all show. Yet there are still so many outside the circle who are different in all they do. Though it feels slightly uncomfortable, we draw a bigger circle for them too. It doesn't mean the circle is easy. It can get harder the more we share. But wonderful things can happen when love is known and felt everywhere. As time passes or eyes open, we see others we really care for. And that's when we ask ourselves, well, what's this circle really there for? So let us create bigger circles all around us for the rest of our days. Let our caring ripple out in a million little ways. In the circles all around us, everywhere that we go, there's a difference we can make and a love we can all show. As our circles grow and grow, and we watch them wonder-eyed, remember the first circle started with just the love you hold inside.
Hi everyone. I'm Natasha, and my name is daughter. I have something, but it's not going to be as pretty as everyone else's. It's going to be really short, but I appreciate you letting me speak and everyone coming today. Every now and then, I look back at my time with my great grandmother, Irmarie Jones. Sorry. There's always a feeling that comes with those memories, a smell, a laugh, something I had that she had randomly said to me that popped in my head. It would put me right back into those memories, as if I was standing over right next to her. It's like an old movie where I'm standing in the corners, watching her heart was over me, look up to her, following her around. I see myself just following her into the garden and into the backyard because she wants to show me something she planted and wants me to help with the bird. I remember every memory of feeling I would have with her was loving and kind. She radiated strength in every memory of mine. We're not letting someone told her what she could have turned out to the old story of her own farm. She definitely led her family with the iron will. She was a mother, a great grandmother, a great grandmother, a wife, the head of her house, an editor of the paper. She was our family matriarch, which for me and my family, that honor has been passed on to my grandmother, Marianne, who has some big shoes to fill. But I know God put us in good hands because my grandmother has that same take care of your family, that hard work grit that her mother has passed on to her. And I thank God every day that kind of love has been left behind. So over your family, I say all that to ask that we remember her today. Remember that she loved us, remember that she cared for us, and remember most of all that she left behind her best qualities, love and strength.
Yeah.
46. There we go. Come sing a song with me, everybody. Everybody is wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is worrying about where they're gonna go and the whole thing's gone. No one knows for certain, but it's all the same to me. I choose to let the mystery be. How can I keep from singing? Among these many, many facets of wonder and love, Irmarie was in love with music, and I had so much good fortune for 7 years working alongside her, supporting a wonderful midweek music program that my predecessor had started. And this refrain that I started with Iris has a wonderful verse that in some ways captures Irmarie's theology, and it goes, they once gone, you're gone forever, but some say you're gonna come back. Some say they rest in an arm, some say they're coming back in gone, but there's sweet peace. I choose to let them miss. Some say they're going to a place called Gloria. I ain't saying that. But I heard that I'm on the road to purgatory and I don't like to stop. I believe in love and I live my life accordingly. I choose what this will be. So she's part of the mystery of our life. God bless us. Amen. Somewhere we're in, are you ready? Yeah. I need a full count. 1,